Today, our focus, though, is going to be about lessons in our losses. Jane, you graduated from Rutgers. You took the leadership class with me, or we had the
Mhm.
chance to get to know each other in the classroom. You were doing an internship in a hospital.
Mhm.
After graduation, of course, the stress of finding a full-time job is coming. So tell us a little bit about what were those emotions, those feelings, everything that was going on for you when you were graduated and ready to start working. Did you have a job lined up immediately after you graduated?
I did not. It was a lot of nerve-wracking feelings after school. Obviously, it would be very nice if I did have a job lined up right after school, but for most of my friends, actually, they didn't, and I've come to learn that that's totally normal. I was fortunate enough to get my first job offer within 3 months of graduation, but up until that point that I got the job offer, it was a lot of stress. And you know that after that was the summer after graduation, senior year, so it was supposed to be happy feelings. But of course, I needed to get that job, so it was really stressful. I applied, I don't even know to how many, but I'm more than like 300 jobs. Um,
Wow, Jane, you're kidding. I
yeah.
thought you were going to say maybe like 40. And that even that I thought was a
Oh.
lot. You applied to over 300 positions. Oh my goodness, that is a lot.
hmm And that's not to say how many versions of the resume I sent out or how many different types of cover letters I had to make, but um, you have to put in the work though to get the desired outcome. Yeah, I would say super stressful, and all your hard work will be worth it.
All right, so that's the message you want to share with anybody who's in your position right now, finding,
Mhm.
looking for that difficult job, but so it was super stressful, but worth it. All right, so you get the job, right? You after
Yes.
300 applications, you get a job. And what industry was the job in?
In healthcare. So I majored in health administration at the Blaustein School. And so that first job was in a really small consulting firm in the outskirts of Philadelphia. We were hired by other healthcare facilities and institutes in the post acute industry to sort of oversee their processes. More specifically, on the billing side, we were looking at um, their processes and if they could do anything more efficiently. We were responsible for honestly educating companies on all of the new, if there were new legislations or new policies that were set in place that related to what they were doing.
You've moved, you've got this great new opportunity. It's in the field, it's in your chosen field because some of
Right.
us end up working in things totally unrelated to our majors, but this is related, directly connected
Mhm.
to what you studied. Was it a right fit for you? Was this first job a good place for you to be?
In the beginning, I thought it was more of I had to be there type of situation. And I did stay there for a year. As that year had progressed, I realized more slowly that I didn't belong there. It's really important for you to feel comfortable while you're there. And as the days went on, that wasn't the case for me. There were factors that didn't sit well with me, and that was slowly affecting my work in general. If you don't feel comfortable in the environment that you're in, it will show.
When did you decide it's time to change this?
I had become skeptical about it 6 months into the job. Tried my best to be optimistic and think that things were going to turn around. And I thought maybe, I'm in a new environment, in a new space with new people. I was maybe the weird one, and I just needed a little bit more time to get adjusted and acclimated. But my feelings really didn't change from month 6 up until I think around a year. And so I gave myself 6 additional months to make myself sure that I was feeling this way. And that was the case. I was no longer blossoming there. Like I wasn't growing at the rate that I wanted to. If anything, I think it was holding me back.
In our leadership class, we spend so much time thinking about getting an internship, getting a
hmm
job. being a professional, the interview process, all of these things, but
Hmm.
rarely do we have the chance to talk about how do you handle leaving a job when it's time to move on for whatever
Right.
reason, and especially to maintain a level of professionalism, a level of integrity as an employee. And also, because it wasn't a good fit at this moment in your life, doesn't mean
Hmm.
you may not have a relationship of some kind with the organization itself, or with the people that work there, or with your supervisor. There's lots of reasons that things don't work out for people. How did you
Right.
handle the process of letting go?
It was definitely one of the most uncomfortable conversations I've ever had to have in my entire life. It's essentially like you're breaking up with someone. In this case, it's my work organization. So it was really hard for me to build up the courage to walk into my boss's office and let her know. The day came. I did the typical 2-week notice. I said something more along the lines of I made a I made a big decision to move from my home in New York to come to Philadelphia for this job, and I've been here for a while. A year is like a decent amount of time for you to gauge whether or not you like it there or not. So I told her I so appreciate the opportunity that this company was my first job and that I got to basically start my career here. And I did learn a lot from a lot of different people, but I think that the best decision for me was to go back home to New York, where I know that I'm very, very comfortable there. And I think that my manager found that very respectable because at the end of the day, she really respected what would benefit me. And I think that that is extremely helpful. So I still have a connection with them today. So when I apply for other jobs, I was able to still ask people at my old company, hey, could you be my source of referral, or could you write me a letter of recommendation?
It feels so good to be able to tell somebody in the future, absolutely, you can contact my supervisor. Yes, she'd be happy to speak with you
Hmm.
or touch base, about the kind of employee that I am. When we're taught that you don't throw in the towel, you don't quit, I think a lot of those thoughts can be in our minds as we're feeling, but this isn't right, this isn't right. And it started
Hmm.
at month 6 for you. You took 6 months to really make sure, and then after a full year of being, so you knew this is not the right place for me, and I want the opportunity for someone else to come in that's right, and for me to find what is right. Just like in investing, everyone's risk tolerance level is different. Some of us need a little more certainty before we end something. other
Hmm.
other people don't, so it's a very personal decision, but the important thing is that you feel the time is right. And this part of our conversation, Jane, relates a lot to our relationships and how we develop those and how much we invest in
Hmm.
our network. And what I mean by that is we have to be mindful that we need other people in our lives. And the bigger our network is, the more people we can reach out to. Right now, your undergraduate students, in the not so distant future, you're going to be executives, professionals, directors, program coordinators. You're going to be doing many different positions, and you will be sources of referral, sources of support. You're
Hmm.
building your network with each other. So I encourage you guys to stay in contact, because like in a situation like this, right, you can reach out to your Rutgers friends. So you spend some time networking, figuring some things out, and within 4 months, now you have your new job that
Hmm.
you love. What's different? You compare your previous job to your current job. What kinds of things? Obviously, the position is different. It's still
Yeah.
in healthcare, right? You're still working
Yep.
in the world of healthcare, but from an internal perspective, what's
Hmm.
different for you with these two positions?
First off, the way I feel so much happier and free of a person than I did when I was at my old job. And I think the main difference is the company culture and the fact that I'm able to have the support that one needs to kind of be successful in their role. I no longer feel micromanaged, and that was something that was a big issue in the previous companies. So I feel like work culture slash how they operate, slash how like just individual people's work ethic, really matters. And that's why I'm so much happier at this job. And it's also in New York where I wanted to work before I even started college. So I think a lot of puzzle pieces are fitting in for me now, which wasn't the case before.
Congratulations, Jane, because you were smiling when you're talking about New York. There's a change in energy and tone when you talk about the two jobs, and this is a part of life, right? The
Hmm.
place in Philly could be an amazing fit now for the past year for another
Right.
person who's taken that position, and that it's just so important to try new experience, to test them, and sometimes they work out really well, and sometimes
Hmm.
they are for a season, and there's a lesson in that season.
Hmm.
And in your case, it sounds like you did a little detour to come back to New York,
Yeah.
which is what you wanted, and you were able to find it, but it didn't happen right away, right?
Nope.
You had somewhere else to go and then be able to come back to it here. And I think that's the reality for so many people. You talked about how you learned a lot about yourself in terms of your own limitations and understanding, and even thinking about the things that are non-negotiables for you in a workplace. And I know in our leadership class, when we talked about interviews, one of the biggest lessons I love sharing with you guys is that an interview is a two-way street. You do want to shine bright, of course, but it's also about finding out if this organization feels good to you too. If it's
Hmm.
finding out a little bit about the company culture, asking questions about supervision styles, communication styles. What would a day be like? Can I come in and observe and shadow for a few hours one day before saying yes? So if you had to sum up your message to people listening in one sentence today, Jane, they may be undergraduates, they may
Hmm.
be just graduated and in this whole entire search process, or they may be in the early stages of a job that they're just like not feeling. What is
Hmm.
your message in one sentence?
Society as a whole has definitely shaped certain things that I feel like as a new graduate you're supposed to conform to, such as you need to get a job within X amount of time, otherwise you're a failure, or once you get that job, you have to stay there for a certain amount of time, to have a certain level of professionalism. There's a lot of things that a lot of people think should be a certain way, but at the end of the day, it's really all about you. And if you aren't feeling good in that situation, or nothing nothing good is coming out of that situation, then you need to remove yourself from that and give yourself the opportunity to be somewhere else where everything will fit.
Mm-hmm. Right. Giving yourself the opportunity to find the right fit. And then by you letting go, then that opens
Hmm.
up the door for a candidate to come into your previous organization that would also
Right.
be a better fit. If you had to put your message on a t-shirt, Jane, so you only have a few letters of space, what would your t-shirt say?
Believe in yourself, really. I think having just well, now I have the confidence to say that. Trust me, this was not me when I first graduated, but now I do have really the ability to say be confident in yourself, because nobody else will be. And everything that you go through, whether it's good or bad, um, it shapes who you are. And all the things that happen to you are supposed, in my opinion, are supposed to happen to you at that time, so that you're able to really become who you are.
Yes, that's a great message for people to be hearing from you today, Jane, as someone who's been 2 years out from graduation
Hmm.
and at a one organization for 1 year and now 8 months at another, that
Hmm.
that really feels like the right fit for you. So that's incredible. I love hearing the good news, even though you had to go through something that it just wasn't right. We're not gonna say that this was horrible or nothing
No.
catastrophic major happened. It just wasn't a good fit. If you could go back in time, Jane, to talk to your 18-year-old self, okay, if you only have 15 seconds, what would you say?
Don't overthink everything, and that everything will seriously work out and be okay. Like, it probably won't work out in the way that I'm envisioning it to, because that nobody can predict the future like that, but really, just really, it's going to be okay.
some hard truths that you've had to face. And the good thing is you're learning them at the very, very beginning of your career. So you get to
Mhm.
carry these lessons forward. You're sharing them with people here today. So I appreciate everything that you're saying and sharing your experience and being willing to share and be open and honest with what you went through in the job search process and then in the resignation process, which no one enjoys. And Jane, we talk a lot about self-care in class, and it's a conversation that I like to bring practically to anybody that will listen to me. So when it comes to self-care, it's a valuable message to be sharing. What is the most recent thing that you did for yourself that was just for fun, for a good time for you?
Self-care is super important. I took off a few days and I really just I stayed home and I did things that I normally wouldn't have the time to do. Lit a candle, took a bath. I I got the chance to really just lay in bed and do absolutely nothing. I think that in and of itself is super helpful and healing.
I'm really glad to hear that you took some time to recharge your own batteries, to take good care
Right.
because you are working so hard at your new job. And I appreciate the message that you're sharing with everyone today about that there are just times when we there's a loss in our life where we choose to leave something, but there's always a
Mhm.
lesson in that. There's always value in that, and listening to ourselves, and when things aren't working, being able to speak up about it and find
Mhm.
something that is working for us. So I really appreciate your time today.
Of course.